ጤና ይስጥልኝ ክቡራን ተመልካቾቻችን እንደምን ሰነበታችሁ። የኢትዮ ዩዝ ሚዲያ የቲቪ ፕሮግራም አቅራቢያችሁ ብሌን ነኝ። የዛሬ ክብር እንግዳችን ሴኔተር ኤድ መሬ ናቸው። አቶ ኤድ መሬ በ2006 የዋሽንግተን ሴኔተር እንዲሆኑ ተመረጡ። ከዛ በፊት ለ11 ዓመታቶች የሃውስ ኦፍ ሪፕሬዘንታቲቭ አባል ነበሩ። አሁን ደግሞ አቶ መሬ የሲያትል ሜየር ለመሆን በመወዳደር ላይ ይገኛሉ። ዛሬም በስቱዲያችን ተገኝተው ስለ ራሳቸው እና ከተመረጡ በኮሚቴያችን ላይ ምን አስተዋጽኦ እንደሚያደርጉ ያጫውቱናል። አብራችሁ Senator Ed Murray is a politician from Washington State. In 2006, he was elected for a seat in the Senate, and previously, he had served 11 years in the Washington State House of Representatives. Senator Murray is currently running for mayor of Seattle. He's in our studio today to tell us a little more about himself and tell us why we should elect him as the mayor of Seattle. Senator Murray, thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us a little more about yourself, hobbies, and interests?
Okay, sure. Well, I grew up in Seattle, in West Seattle, in a large working class family. I have 5 sisters and 1 brother. My grandparents were immigrants from Ireland. I went on to college in Portland. And before I was in the legislature, I worked for Martha Cho on the Seattle City Council. As far as hobbies and interests, I have a dog who I spend a lot of time working with and enjoying. And from time to time, I cross-country ski or hike, depending on the weather. And I love to read.
You love to read?
Yes.
That's good. Why are you running for the mayor instead of serving as a senator of the Washington State?
Sure. Often, people in legislative bodies run for higher office. Like Barack Obama was a state senator who then ran for the U.S. Senate, who then ran for president. So I'm running because I think Seattle's at a very challenged point in its history right now. I think we have some really significant issues around transportation, around public safety, around police reform, around whether this city is going to be an affordable city that people can actually live in who have average salaries. And I'd like to be the mayor to challenge those issues and make this a city that is economically diverse as well as racially and ethnically diverse.
Okay, say you're elected as mayor. What would you do to tackle the different issues our youth face?
Yes. Well, I think one of the key things that we need to do is enter into a discussion with our school district about how we're going to improve graduation rates and how the city can play a part in that, because graduation rates, particularly among immigrant young people, is about 45%. That's just far too low for a city like Seattle. Secondly, I think the programs that we can do in our parks and recreation facilities to make sure that we are reaching out to all cultures and all people and involve those youth. There is programs the city conducts now to get youth involved in activities and keep them off the streets. I think that's also very important.
And what do you think about the different emerging faces of African communities in Seattle and their representation in the administration, such as the HSD, the Park and Recreation, and the police force?
So, the East African and African population in Seattle continues to grow and is adding incredible diversity to our city. But we're not seeing those numbers reflected in city government. We're not seeing those numbers reflected in who we hire in the police department and other places. And one of my goals is actually to be sure that one of the largest immigrant groups in the city, if I'm mayor, have positions and jobs throughout our city government.
And what is your position in creating an ethnic media like this, where Africans and East Africans can come together and discuss the different issues that they face?
Well, I actually think that Seattle invests a lot of money in something called Seattle TV, or the Seattle Channel, and I think that is an opportunity to utilize that resource to create programs in the different communities that could be broadcast on that. That is one of the things that I think we could do, as well as look at technical support within the communities themselves as they develop their own media.
And do you have any last minute messages to our audience who are watching this program?
Sure. I've really been privileged to serve in the legislature over these last 18 years. I've worked on a lot of issues such as transportation, such as civil rights. I've also specialized in working on immigrant issues to ensure that the funding is there for the New American Program, the funding is there for food assistance to refugees. I'm the original author of something called the DREAM Act that would allow young people who are undocumented but immigrants to access financial aid in our university and college system. So I think that is the type of leader that Seattle's looking for, someone with that kind of background, and I would love your vote and I would love your support.
What do you think are some of the issues that East African immigrants face?
Well, one of the exciting parts of this campaign has been getting to know the East African community better, and a very diverse community. Ethiopian, Somalian, Islamic, Christian Orthodox, and the diversity is just really very impressive. And I think that enriches Seattle. But I also know that there are significant challenges, that the resources around language and working with language skills so that people can get into good jobs is a challenge. I know that that also is a challenge when it comes to dealing with education, because education is still one of the best ways to get a good job and be able to raise a family. I also understand the challenges that a lot of young people, particularly teenagers in the African American community, are feeling alienated in their schools, and that can lead to a lot of problems on the streets. So I think we have a real challenge to make sure that our schools are culturally integrate the East African communities so that young people feel that it is also their schools and not just a Caucasian American school, but also an East African American school. So those are some of the issues that I've become aware of over the time that I've spent visiting with leaders in the East African community, having a chance to celebrate Thanksgiving yesterday and have great food, and visiting with some of the religious leaders as well. It's been an opportunity for me to hear about these very significant challenges. And as I mentioned earlier, a real disconnect between the number of East Africans who are living in Seattle and the number of East Africans who are actually working in the city government of Seattle. That's a real challenge that we have to change. We need East African police officers. They're going to understand the culture and the challenges of that community better than anybody else. We need East Africans to be in city government because that is another way you can address some of these problems.
Okay, say if you're elected as mayor, what would you do, like maybe first, second, third, or day that you're in office to help us face tackle those problems?
Well, I think one of the first things we need to do is that many people in the East African community work to get a city office of immigration. But I don't think that city office of immigration has been effective in being able to reach out and offer the assistance that these communities need. So I think we need to go back and look at the mission of that office and develop it in such a way that it actually responds to the needs of the community. So that would be one of the first things I would do when it comes to the issue of the East African community. Secondly, I would want to engage the school district in a discussion around what are we missing, what are we doing wrong that we're not able to be more successful with immigrant young people graduating from our high schools, and look at what sort of changes that we need to make so that those young people stay in school and actually graduate from school. So that would be 1 and 2.
What kind of commission, what kind of cabinet are you going to have, and
Sure.
what are you going to do about the youth commission?
These are really important questions. Currently the mayor's cabinet has 70% men. And traditionally in Seattle, around 48% of the cabinet has been women. So we need to have, I would have as mayor, a far more diverse cabinet and staff that reflects not just women, but reflects the city of Seattle, that a cabinet that looks like the city of Seattle, that represents its racial and ethnic diversity. And there are incredibly skilled people in all communities, so I don't think it'll be hard to find qualified people to create a diverse cabinet for the mayor's office. In regards to the Youth Commission has done some good work. I think we want to be sure that the Youth Commission, I wouldn't do away with it, I'd keep it. I would want to be sure, again, is it diverse enough? Is it representing all aspects of and all communities within the city of Seattle? And as I would appoint members, I would be sure that we would be sensitive to that.
Senator Murray, again, thank you so much for coming to our studio. We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much for having me on. Thank you. Hello, I'm State Senator Ed Murray, and I'm currently a candidate for the mayor of Seattle. And it is just an incredible privilege to be on MMRTI. It is an opportunity for politicians like myself and community leaders and everyday people to express their views and learn new information about different cultures. It certainly enriches our media world so that we just don't have the stations that we see on TV, on cable, but we have a variety of ways of learning information about our very, very diverse city. So my thanks to MMRTI for being pioneers in this very important work. Thank you.
መጪውን የኢትዮጵያን ሚሌኒየም ልክ እንዳብሮ መብላት መጠጣታችን ለለውጥ ተጋግዘን በመስራት የሀገራችንን እድገት የምናይበት ጅምር እንዲሆን የእግዚአብሔር ቅዱስ ፈቃዱ ይሁን።